What if the greatest writer in history was actually a front for someone else? So let's jump straight into this explainer because today we're looking at one of history's most fascinating and honestly most enduring mysteries. It's the kind of thing that makes you question literally everything you thought you knew about genius, social class, and greatness. I mean, for hundreds of years, the works attributed to this one single author have totally shaped our language and our literary culture. But what if the guy we all picture holding the feather quill didn't actually write a single word of it? Look, we all know the 16th century bard. William Shakespeare is an absolute icon of literature, and the man from Stratford-upon-Avon is universally celebrated. But here's the thing. For centuries, a massive controversy has been raging over whether he actually penned those iconic plays and sonnets, or if his name was just a super convenient cover for someone else who was secretly pulling the strings. And no, this isn't just some modern internet conspiracy theory. Serious doubts actually started gaining major traction way back in the mid-19th century with writers like Delia Bacon, and the whole debate has just snowballed since then. We're talking thousands of books, entire academic societies, and even some really prominent legal minds who have looked at the evidence and gone, wait, something just doesn't add up here. The sheer scale of this historical debate is absolutely staggering when you really dig into it. So the absolute crux of this whole debate comes down to a massive friction. Let's call it the genius versus elite dilemma. Because history tells us Shakespeare came from a solidly working-class background. His dad made gloves, and William himself had a pretty limited education. He likely just went to the local grammar school, and there is absolutely zero record of him ever attending university. Yet, the work with his name on it? Pure, unadulterated genius. And it's not just the beautiful poetry, either. It's the insanely deep, highly specialized knowledge. I mean, these plays are absolutely packed with intricate details about royal court life, complex legal jargon like those highly specific property laws in Hamlet, and even exact geographic details of Italian cities. In plays like The Merchant of Venice or Othello, the writer shows this intimate understanding of Venetian waterways and foreign customs that, back then, basically only a privileged, highly educated traveler would know. So the giant question for the skeptics is simply this. How on earth does a guy with minimal schooling, who supposedly never even left England, write with that kind of worldly authority? Well, because of that huge gap between his documented education and sheer encyclopedic knowledge in the texts, a lot of skeptics point to a lineup of usual suspects. We're talking about brilliant contemporaries who might have used Shakespeare's name to shield their own identities. Now, you might be wondering, why would they even need a shield? Well, back then, writing plays for the public theater was considered pretty unseemly for noblemen or politicians. Plus, the political themes in those plays, they could literally get you thrown in prison or worse. Take the famous philosopher and statesman Francis Bacon, for example. He possessed the exact kind of vast intellect, royal access, and legal training we see woven into the plays. Or consider Christopher Marlowe. Marlowe was university-educated, wildly talented, and heavily rumored to be a government spy. He died in a super mysterious tavern brawl, which has led some to theorize he actually faked his own demise to escape danger and just kept writing in secret as Shakespeare. Both of these guys were highly educated and definitely had the worldly knowledge needed to pull this off. But what if it wasn't a fellow playwright like Marlowe or a statesman like Bacon? What if it was an elite, aristocratic secret? Some researchers take this theory all the way to the very top of the social ladder. They point to noblemen like Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford. He actually traveled extensively in Italy, had deep insider knowledge of the Elizabethan court, and was known to be obsessed with the theater. The whole assumption here is that only the absolute elite of 16th century society possessed the refined knowledge, the political gossip, and the crazy linguistic mastery required to create these masterpieces. Some have even gone so far as to suggest Queen Elizabeth I herself was the true author. Although you have to admit, it is pretty fun to imagine the sheer logistics of the Queen secretly writing 37 intricate masterpieces in perfect iambic pentameter, all while simultaneously running a global empire and dodging assassination plots every other day. Which brings us to the ultimate crossroads to wrap up this explainer. Was Shakespeare a fraud, or is history just elitist? Are we simply projecting our own modern biases onto the past, totally underestimating the boundless imagination and sponge-like mind of a working-class genius? After all, true genius doesn't always come with a fancy university degree, right? Or, on the flip side, are we slowly uncovering one of the most successful, enduring historical cover-ups of all time? The evidence and the arguments on both sides of this divide are absolutely fascinating, and they really force us to reconsider how we look at historical truth, class, and human potential. So, what do you think? Was Shakespeare a fraud? Or is history just elitist? Let us know in the comments.